So tell me a little bit about yourself. What would you like the world to know about you?
All right, so my name's Martin Delhunt. I'm a computer engineering major here at S&T. I graduate in 2025. Things that I want people to know. I'm really involved in the band program here. I'm really involved with the marching band. I'm actually one of the drum majors here. I actually just came from a wind symphony concert earlier this afternoon, which was a lot of fun. So props to anyone if you were there. But beyond that, I do a lot, obviously, with student council. I've been their vice president of operations for a couple years now. And I just like being involved with stuff on campus and helping out wherever I can. I do a lot of logistics stuff, and I just like to help out wherever I get the chance.
Nice. So our first question, besides that one, of course, if you're ready. Our campus is known as a depressing mess. What would you add, change, promote, or invest to improve the standing of the and view of the campus?
Okay. Yeah, no, you're definitely not wrong. This is not an easy it's not an easy campus to live on. Especially when your schedule turns into a game of Tetris, which I think pretty much everyone can relate to here. It's like a game of Jenga by the end of the week. Honestly, one of the big things regarding that is just working with our academic leaders. Obviously there's some people within student council whose job that is. So it starts with finding the right people to do that. And then the next step would be going and actually talking to the leaders of those academic departments and figuring out, all right, how can we, make this department or this class less obnoxiously terrible to deal with. I'm trying to think of a good example because I'm in the electrical and computer engineering department, so I'm trying to think of one of the ways that relates. One example is like in lab a couple years ago, we were using software from 2012. There was a 2013 version loaded on the computers. They told us not to use it. So it's the little things like that, or the extra work that teachers give us, just the busy work, or teachers making classes hard to make them hard instead of making them hard because the material's hard. That's the kind of stuff that I feel like pushes this campus over the edge, because, okay, we're all engineers. We're all going to be nerdy. A lot of us aren't as social, so there's a bunch of parts of campus where, it's a struggle to get people to turn out to social events. It can be done. We've seen it done in the past, but it's a struggle, and it definitely doesn't help when you've got 5 classes pushing people over the edge and just making them turn into recluses in their bedrooms. I think that's probably the biggest factor.
Yeah, I think I agree. So the next question is, let's see. What led you to decide to run for president?
There's a couple of things that led me to do it. Obviously, I've been VP of Ops for two years now, and it's kind of a natural progression in the sense that, I've run the internal side of the organization for 2 years. I honestly, when I got here, it was a mess. It was bad. It was pretty bad. My job alone was responsible for everything finance within student council, responsible for all the minutes, all the agendas, all the attendance, all of the parliamentarian stuff, essentially everything inventory-wise with the office, everything internal affairs, all of it was one guy, and it was me. So I got tired of that really quick. I broke that out into a couple of sub jobs, and now things are working a little bit smoother, and I'm trying to figure out the other ways I can do that within student council. So that was one of the reasons, because I feel like I'm finally getting the operations branch to a way I like it, to a way I think where it can run itself. And I want to see if I can do that with the rest of that organization. The second thing is, it's a big year. for involvement, for student affairs, for the building we're taping this in. We're in Havener right now. It's a big year. Mark Petrovka, the longtime director of Havener Center, the guy who got this building built, just retired at the end of August. John Gallagher, the director of student involvement, is leaving the university to move to Colorado with his family. And I believe Dr. Robinson is also retiring, the current vice chancellor for student affairs. So essentially what's happening is this year, the entire student affairs branch is getting the floor dropped out from under it, which is a big deal. The student involvement branch is also getting bigger than ever. I mean, it took on Leach Theater recently, and they're actively restructuring student affairs to make the the Office of Student Success or something, I believe. And they're adding things like the Student Success Center is going out from undergraduate studies and coming into this branch. I forget if they may or may not be doing the same thing with design teams even, which is a whole lot of stuff for a branch to manage, which is under essentially new leadership. And with this building too, this building I think is getting kind of transferred hands into the operations department now, which is under Vice Chancellor O'Neill. And all of these changes have kind of happened within the last couple of years. And I've seen it all going down. And I've kind of seen the warning signs for these past couple of years. So I kind of saw all that and I'm like, all right, I want to be there just in case things start to hit the fan, just in case anything goes sideways, or just in case somebody just decides to try and make a move, right, that we don't necessarily agree with. I want to make sure that whoever's in the president's office at that time kind of knows the backstory, knows how things got the way they are, already knows some of the people involved, like Vice Chancellor O'Neill. I've had plenty of conversations with Brittany, the new director of hospitality and things, who's in charge of, I believe, the Innovation Lab and Havener now. All of these things, like all these people I've already established some connections with and already have a professional working relationship with. It just kind of seemed like the right time with all of these changes that are happening. It's like, all right, I can be here. I can kind of be a bit of a rock and provide a little bit of stability, especially for the representation from students. It's not, it's kind of like look, I've been here. I know you want to do things this way, or I know other people are trying to make these changes, but here's why we've been doing things the way we have been. Here's what works, here's what doesn't. And I can kind of help establish connections early on in this new system that I don't think would be as easy to establish if you had someone in the office who was brand new to student council or brand new to this side of the student involvement department.
Makes sense. The next question I have is, what is I guess you kind of already explained this, but I guess going into a little bit more depth. What is one thing you want to change during your term?
Changes. Biggest thing, and I maybe touched on it a little bit, but the biggest thing is taking the voice of the students and making it a force to be reckoned with. That's my central pillar for this whole campaign effort. I don't want student opinion to be ignored or treated as a novelty item, almost as it has in the past. This new innovation lab that opened, which is a great facility, I've studied in it a bunch of times, like for the past couple of weeks that it's been open. It's been a great study space. I was in there last night, and it's the thing with it is they kind of touted it as, this is the building that's going to solve all your problems. Well, it didn't solve all our problems. All of us knew before it even opened it wasn't going to solve all of our problems. I've been talking to people in the operations department about, maybe getting some more recreational facilities in Havener, like an esports lounge or a tech lounge or something like that in this building. And they've said, put it on hold. We want to see how much you like the innovation lab. And I'm like, I know you're not doing anything like this in there. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great building. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to study. And I'm sure it's going to have a lot of life to it when it gets fully up and running and people actually start utilizing it to its fullest potential. But it's not everything we need. And if the administration had talked to us about it, had not kept us in the dark, we might have been able to warn them like, hey, this is a great first step, but it's not the end of the story. Maybe we want to prioritize other things. I know you said this campus is depressing, and you're right. It is depressing at times. I got onto campus, yesterday afternoon, and I tried to go anywhere after 6 p.m. You can't. One building is open, Havener, if you try to go to campus on the weekend after 6 p.m. That's the only building that's open. The library closes at 6 p.m. for some godforsaken reason. This building closes at 10. So you want to work on a Saturday night or on a Friday night, heaven forbid, you try to actually be productive so that you can have fun a different night of the week. No, you don't get to. So it definitely doesn't help that they're trying to do all these flashy things that they think are going to make our lives better, that they say are going to make our lives better, while they're actively kind of ignoring all the complaints we actually have about the academics, about our mental health, about the facilities we have. And again, with all the connections that I've made and all the systems that I've kind of seen, I've seen the gears turning. I know, like within student council, I know that there's processes we can use to get things done. A couple of years ago, I believe it was November 22, we passed a resolution to essentially tell the faculty senate that a decision they made regarding the teacher evaluations was a bad decision. That was when the faculty senate decided they didn't want those evals to be sent to the department chairs. Well, we complained and we wrote a resolution and we sent it, and Aaron Burkhoff, our CEC chair, drafted it, and I did all the formatting and things. And when that landed on the provost's desk, I forget if he actually cited it as an official reason or not, but the policy got changed quickly. So using those same kind of systems that I've already proven can work, we can ramp that into overdrive next year and start actually forcing people's hands, or saying like, look, I know this is what you think we want, but it's not. So that's making student voice mean something, making our opinion pack a punch. That's kind of my big goal, my big pillar for this campaign, my big change.
The next question. The cost of tuition has been on the rise. Do you have plans to help slow this rise or ensure that our money is used as efficiently as possible?
Efficient use of money is a big one. The rising cost of tuition there's a couple of reasons for that, and I don't know all of them. I have a couple hypotheses. I mean, obviously there's inflation, but I'm not even going to get into that. There's the limited level to which the state of Missouri actually supports us as a state-funded school, which is not necessarily a student council problem, that's an ASUM problem. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to be working with ASUM really closely, probably whether or not I get elected, because I know a lot of the people on ASUM and I think they do really good work over there. And they could definitely put a little more force behind trying to pull some funding our way to lower that cost. When it comes to efficient use, though, that is our job. That is student council's department. And we've been starting to poke and prod over the past couple of years, and we're going to ramp it up in the next year, especially if I get elected. Believe me, we're going to ramp it up. We want numbers from people. Athletics isn't giving us numbers. Operations isn't giving us numbers, the Vice Chancellor's office, some of the student involvement's generally been pretty good about it, especially with the organizations. Organizations get held to such a high standard by the Student Activity Finance Board for how they spend their money, especially the DSF groups. I know KMNR, PATS, Sub, you all know it. You all know how close they watch. The design teams know how close they watch. Mark Evans in the office pretty much watches every purchase like a hawk. So if we have to spend our money efficiently, it should also be our job to make sure that they're doing it too. And I'm sure, I guarantee you that there's money that is being wasted or being misused that we can probably find and reallocate to better projects. I don't know what it is because they're not giving me numbers. But if we get people riled up, like that's something student council can easily do. We can get people riled up about that. We can get a resolution on their desk, or we can send them an official memo saying, hey, we want the numbers, please, now. And then we can start to essentially hold people's feet to the fire and make money count. It's, I don't know, it's probably one of my bigger goals to, and it has been for a while, making sure people aren't wasting money. Because you're right, we don't get enough money. Tuition's going through the roof. And if it's not getting used right, that's a problem. That's a big problem.
All right. What is your stance on how mental health is treated on campus?
Mental health is, there's two ways to tackle it. There's proactive and reactive. You can be proactive and change the factors that are causing people's mental health to be low, and you can be reactive and help people when their mental health does start to go down. Our school tends to do a fairly decent job when it comes to reactive. We have free counseling available. We have the mental health office, which I've used. I've talked to, I've worked with them. I know that they do good work over there. There's obviously some systems that could be better. I mean, UCare in particular, I've talked to people who have said that they've been afraid to file a report of somebody who objectively probably should have been reported to UCare because it damages people's relationships. UCare discloses exactly what was said that led to the complaint. Well, if you know what you said and you know who was in the room when you said it, you know who probably reported it, even if they don't tell you. And because of how that process works, I haven't actually gone through the process myself. I haven't actually seen the process firsthand. But I've heard that it really, really messes with people. And that's unacceptable for someone whose mental health is already in a state of needing assistance. For them to be put under more stress by a system designed to help them is wrong. So there's definitely progress that can be made reactive, but we're at least trying. Proactively, we're not doing anything right now. Proactively, sure, you've got the minor oases that are there to relax when the building is open, when you're not doing homework, when you're not getting swamped by, multiple high-level classes, or undergraduate class, like general ed classes that are just way too hard. I know Chem 1 is a recurring weed out class, or I took a class last year where I don't think I was there the moment he said it, but one student asked, we're not allowed to have fun on our weekends, and the teacher said, no, students are meant to suffer, which that's a red flag. But the proactive side, we could be doing so much better. Having teachers be aware of students and their needs. If someone needs to take a mental health day, I've been very lucky to, even though one of my teachers is really hard this semester, she understands, it's like, hey, I was up till 6 in the morning trying to finish this assignment and it didn't get done. Can I have a little while longer? I just need through the weekend to catch up. And there's a lot of teachers on campus who will do that for people. And it does wonders for your mental health to be able to say, I need this day to just breathe, take a moment, and then I can catch up. And if we can start a culture of teachers doing that, or if we can get teachers who are strategic and careful about how much they assign and what they're assigning, and not assigning unnecessary work, mental health gets a lot easier of a problem to tackle reactively. Because obviously we can't get rid of mental health as a problem. We're stressed out college students is gonna be there. But if we can limit how many problems we're creating proactively, then the reactive system is under so much less strain, and we can actually handle each and every case a little bit better when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite building on campus?
Oh God. I'm not gonna say my building because it's not. The ECE building, electrical computer engineering. We don't have a lobby. I wish as a compy I had access to CS because they've got some nice lounges over there. Havener's got some nice working space. Innovation Lab's got some nice working space. Obviously, because I'm in the music program, I hang out at Castleman all the time. If I had to say favorite building, it would probably either come down to I think I'm gonna have to say Havener just because it has the longest hours and it has places I can sit down and work in peace. Because the library closes at 6 on weekends, which doesn't help me, and my department building doesn't have a place to work, which doesn't help me, and I am still waiting on the campus master plan to revitalize parts of Castleman Hall and Leach Theater. So right now it'd probably have to be the kind of Havener complex.
Nice. Let's see. What is your favorite toothpaste flavor?
Toothpaste. I'll be honest, I'm kind of boring in that I just get like the standard toothpaste. Anything too minty, if it's too minty, it's too much. There's a limit to how much mint is enough mint, and there's a point where some people just go crazy with the mint. And I don't think toothpaste should be sweet. If you have, sweet toothpaste is not that. No sweet toothpaste. So I don't know. I just go with what's easy. I go with the standard.
If you were placed in the Wild West, what would you do?
What part of the Wild West? Just anywhere?
Stereotypical
Western town. Honestly, I'd probably I might go for like the tavern. I might try and be the barkeep, because the thing is, you look at a lot of westerns and the sheriff's always getting shot or shooting other people, and the barkeep usually ends up nobody wants to tick off the barkeep because he's the one who gives them the booze. So if you're providing the booze, you tend to be pretty safe. So that's probably where I'd go. I definitely wouldn't want to be like a bar musician or something though, because I think the recurring Western bit is that the musician always gets shot. So definitely not a musician. Definitely not a cop. I'd probably go for the barkeep because you get to hear all the drama too. You get to hear what's going on, and that's always fun.
Smart.
Okay.
Describe the student body president position in your own words, and what do you see the most important function of a student body president is?
So, student body president, in my eyes, is kind of a leader of leaders, essentially. Because you take all your members of student council, they're all leaders in their own right. They all come from organizations and are in student council, hopefully because they want to make some kind of change, they want to do something, they want to leave a mark. And then you've got the executives who are the leaders of this assembly of student council members. And the student body president's job is to essentially guide all of that. The student body president's job isn't necessarily to make unilateral decisions or anything. It's, unless there's some kind of emergency that needs to be handled like that, that's when you step in and be the decision maker. But usually when it comes to making decisions, you kind of want to defer to as wide of a base of opinions as you can get. So what I would say that the most important job of the student body president is, and what my kind of goal for the position would be to model the executive committee of student council and student council as a whole, so that they're the ones getting things done, so that it's not necessarily things being done from the top down. It's not the president setting the goals and then the executives kind of dragging their committee members into it. You want to find the people who are at the base level and have an idea, and then kind of help coach them through the process of taking that up the ladder all the way to making a change. You want a student body president who's going to take the people they put into positions of responsibility, the members of the executive committee, or you want them to work with whichever vice presidents student council elects, because the president doesn't get to pick their vice presidents. So whoever they end up with in the vice president slots, or whoever they select for the committee chairs and the other executive spots, you kind of want to rally them into a cohesive kind of team, a unit, who's going to, by extension, rally the general body members, who will then rally their organizations, and then change starts from the bottom up. It's more of a figurehead, inspirational type of thing. And don't get me wrong, you do have to have opinions, you do have to make changes, you do have to do all these other things that normal leaders have to do. But the most important thing, especially on this campus, is showing people their own potential to do things individually, that they don't have to wait for someone above them to do something about it. They just have to work with everybody else, use teamwork, build cohesive unit of people to get the job done. That's the student body president has to be the one who inspires other people to get the job done. They shouldn't have to do it all themselves.
All right. And then what is your long-term objective for this position?
The long-term objective is to really establish the student body president, and establish student council, and establish student opinion as kind of a sounding wall for any big change that wants to get made on campus. Well, let's bounce it off the students. Let's see what they think. Let's bounce it off student council. Or say somebody has a bright idea, somebody wants to make a proposal, make a change. They should know that we're the people to go to get it done. We want to publicize ourselves as we're the people who get the job done, and we want to kind of establish that long-term tradition of having results, of making changes, and of just being effective is the biggest thing. We want to, or I want to prove that we can, as student council, can be effective and that we can get the job done. And that's a slow process. But I think if we start off right in this next year, we can start swinging the pendulum back in the right direction after it got completely blown off course over the past. I mean, it got blown off course years ago, and we're still trying to fix. I've been trying to fix it for 2 years, but if I can really build a good executive team around me, find the right people. I don't know who they are yet because they haven't stepped forward, but you find the right people who step forward, put the right people in the right jobs, and you can start really putting some thrust onto that pendulum.
What is the most important issue facing students at S&T?
The most important issue facing us as a campus is probably just the lack of involvement. I would say is one of the big ones, and it's not the students' fault. It's not that the students don't want to get involved. It's that many of them don't know their options. They don't know any better. A lot of students don't have the option. If you're like the new differential tuition model that got put into place, it encourages people to take up to that 18 credit hour limit because that's where you get the most bang for your buck. Like, that's efficiency. If you can graduate faster, you spend less money. It doesn't matter how many classes you take anymore. So that puts a lot of pressure on people, and of course everyone's cutting back from their organizations because they don't have the time anymore. Or you've got this new freshman class who experienced the vast majority of their high school career during or after the COVID pandemic. And I'm not trying to act like we're still reeling from the pandemic like we were a few years ago, but just like you can still see the dip in population from major events like World War II, you can still see that dip in involvement from the pandemic that came through a couple of years ago. It's impacting the band, it's impacting clubs. I think Sub has like 2 or 3 committee members right now, and when I was a freshman, like at least 3 of my people in my friend group alone were committee members. It was like the cool thing to be on Sub, and now people are too busy. People don't know what their options are. People don't think it's the right fit for them. So we got to figure out ways we can start weaning people back into that. Ways we can encourage freshmen to at least give it a shot. I know obviously Greek Life and all the Greek organizations are really, really trying to get recruitment. They're having a hard time with recruitment as well, I'm sure, because there's so many freshmen who just aren't really about it. A bunch of us when we got through the pandemic were like, all right, I want to get back at it. I want to get back involved. I want to really sink my time into this again. But to the people who never were involved in the first place when they got to high school, they don't know what they're missing out on. And it's not their fault. So it'll be a slow process. But again, we need to kind of start showing people the potential that all these organizations have and just giving people one thing to latch onto and really just take the wheel and run with.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.